is the former president trying to derail negotiations on Ukraine and the border? What do you think?
I'll ask him.
Mr. President, conditions on Israel aid, given what Netanyahu said about a one state.
I think we'll be able to work something.
What is that? How?
There are a number of types of two-state solutions. There's a number of countries that are members of the UN that are still don't have their own military. A number of states that have limitations on this. And so I think there's ways in which this can work.
But BTS said he's opposed.
I didn't say no, he didn't say that.
So what is he open to?
I'll let you know.
Did you talk about it this morning?
Thank you, folks.
Mr. President,
I don't care what your position is on the settlements. As my friends from Israel can tell you, I've made no bones about what my view is privately to the Israeli government and leaders. And I would make my views very known loudly were I an Israeli. We are now at the peace table, quote unquote, with unclean hands because there is the feeling abroad in this administration, among some in Congress, that somehow we owe an obligation to our Arab brethren to have Israel, quote, be reasonable. But think about it for a minute. Why is there any incentive for the Arabs to make any compromise in the peace talks? Why, if they know that they must only wait for the United States will do their bargaining for them, why would they compromise? Why would they be reasonable? The absurd notion that publicly vilifying Israel will somehow change its policy. Who in the hell do we think we're dealing with? What makes us think, even if the administration is 100% correct on the policy, what makes them think that in the midst of an election campaign, in the midst of a so-called peace talk, that we can publicly vilify a nation? Who do we deal with? Why is it that somehow Israel is assumed to have the special benefit of being able to be publicly chastised? Do we do it to the Germans, who we should be worried as hell about right now? Do we do it to the French, whom hardly ever cooperate with us? Do we do it with the Brits? Do we do it with anybody but Israel? And why? Do you ever ask yourself why? My father, as a Christian, spent 35 years apologizing for what this country did not do, and the sense of guilt.
The word apartheid is exactly accurate. You know, this is an area that's occupied by two powers. They're now completely separated. The Palestinians can't even ride on the same roads that the Israelis have created or built in Palestinian territory. The Israelis never see a Palestinian except their Israeli soldiers. The Palestinians never see an Israeli except at a distance, except the Israeli soldiers. So within Palestinian territory, they're absolutely and totally separated, much worse than they were in South Africa, by the way. And the other thing is, the other definition of apartheid is one side dominates the other, and the Israelis completely dominate the life of the Palestinian people.
Why don't Americans know what you have seen?
Americans don't want to know.
I've asked a lot of guests these two questions, and I'd be curious about your answer. Would you condemn Hamas for what they did? Will you now take the opportunity to condemn what Hamas did on October the 7th? Final, I only ask you one more time. So just for the record, do you condemn what Hamas did that day?
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
I condemn the general condition, Piers.
But that wasn't my question.
No.
The previous guest says you haven't condemned what Hamas did on October the 7th. Have you?
Of course I have, on every speech.
And do you unreservedly condemn? On my show, I ask people questions.
You shout at people.
Normally, they answer them. It's actually
Are you done yet?
It's actually a critical question.
Are you done yet?
It's a critical question.
Are you done yet?
No, it's the question.
Are you done yet?